Hi Year 4 and welcome to Tuesday's writing lesson. Let's get started.
The learning objective for today's lesson is the same as the one you had yesterday, to build and use a rich and varied vocabulary, which is really important in poetry writing. The poem that you're going to be writing over the next few lessons is going to share everything that you have learnt so far about ancient Egypt. In today's lesson, you're going to be using the plan that you did yesterday with your nouns, adjectives, verbs and adverbs on it. We're also going to be thinking about alliteration and personification. Can anybody remember what alliteration is? That's right, Year 4. Alliteration is where you have words together with the same sound, like the slithering snake slithers. What about personification? I remember that we did this chilly freeze when we were writing our Roman poetry a few months ago in school. Can you remember what it is? That's right, personification is where you give something that's not human a human quality. For example, the brave shield. Well, a shield can't really be brave because it's not a human, so we're giving it a human quality. So that's personification.
So, Year 4, I've been having a look at some of the words in my word bank that we did yesterday, and I don't think some of them show the rich vocabulary that we're thinking about for our learning objective today. So, I'm not sure about the word old, or tired, or angrily. Now, I don't always have up-levelled words for these in my head, so what could I use instead? Well, follow me and I'll show you.
When we try and up-level a word in school, we use a thesaurus, but you might not have one of those at home. So if you don't, go onto Google and type in Kid Thesaurus. And then you want to click on this top link here. And then in the search bar, you can type in a word and it comes up with synonyms for that word. I'm going to type in old and I'm going to press search. And now I can scroll down to find different suggestions for old. I've got aged, ancient, elderly, mature, antique, archaic, old-fashioned, primitive and relic. Well, I quite like archaic, so I'm going to add that to my word bank to up-level the word old.
So I've now up-levelled old to archaic, tired to worn, and angrily to furiously. So what I want you to do for your starter today is to have a look at your plan from yesterday. Can you up-level any of your vocabulary? If you didn't do your plan from yesterday, don't worry, you can use mine and to see if you can up-level any of my words. Pause the video now and do that. Then come back to me and we'll start writing. Now that I've up-levelled all of my words in my word bank and I'm happy with that, I'm now ready to start my poem. So, we have been thinking about Tutankhamun's tomb. Well, Tutankhamun's tomb is in, can you remember where it is? That's right, it's in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. So I'm going to have that as the title for my poem, In the Valley of the Kings. So I need a capital letter to start it. In the. Now, the Valley of the Kings is a place, so that needs capital letters as well. In the valley, I need to make sure all of my spellings are correct. In the Valley of the Kings. And because it's a title, I'm going to underline it with a wiggly line to make it stand out. Over the next 2 days, we're going to be writing our poem together. So today, we're going to be writing the first 2 verses, all about things that we can see outside Tutankhamun's tomb, out in the Valley of the Kings. And then tomorrow, with Miss Murphy, you're going to be writing your final 2 verses, all about what you can see inside Tutankhamun's antechamber. For my poem, I'm going to have each verse starting with the same line, and it's going to be in the Valley of the Kings. So I'm going to write that first, remembering my capital letters because it's the name of a place. And as I said, this is going to be repeated for every first line of your verse. In the Valley of the Kings. So don't forget that this verse is all about what I could see outside the tomb in the Valley of the Kings. So I'm going to look back at our plan from yesterday and choose one of the nouns to write about. So I could pick the sand, I could pick the heat. I'm going to talk about the scorpions. So I could just write the scorpions, but we did all the hard work yesterday of coming up with some adjectives. So let's pick an adjective to describe the scorpions. Remember, poetry is all about building up that picture in the reader's mind, so I want to be as descriptive descriptive as possible. So what could I use to describe the scorpions? I could say the old scorpions or the archaic. I don't think that really matches. I'm going to go with the quick scorpions. So, in the Valley of the Kings, the quick. That's my adjective. The quick scorpions is my noun. The quick scorpions. Now, what are the quick scorpions doing? Remember, I want that picture in my mind, so I want a verb. So what could the quick scorpions be doing? They could be waiting. They could be watching. The quick scorpions, I'm thinking now that I might want to use some alliteration here. Remember, that's where the sound is the same. So the quick scorpions, I'm going to have scuttling. The quick scorpion scuttling. I'm going to change scuttling to scuttle. So the quick scorpions scuttle. And I really like the s sound there. So that's my second line. Ready for my third line. I'm going to follow the same pattern. I'm going to have the, then my adjective, my noun, and my verb. So let's have a look. I'm going to think about another noun that I could see outside in the Valley of the Kings. I'm going to talk about the cliffs that were all around us. So I'm going to have the, I need an adjective now to describe those cliffs. Well, I could have had old, but I up-leveled that, so I'm going to choose archaic, the archaic cliffs. So here's my adjective, archaic, and then I want my noun, cliffs, and then I want a verb to describe what those cliffs are doing. Well, cliffs don't really do anything, so I could have watch, and then that is using personification that I spoke about earlier. It's giving something non-human, the cliffs, a human quality, because cliffs can't really watch anything. So I could have watch, but I think there's a better word. The archaic cliffs, observing. That doesn't quite make sense. The archaic cliffs observe, so I'm going to change it to observe. So that is my verb. And as I said, I've used personification because it's giving something non-human a human quality, because cliffs can't really observe. So now I'm ready to write the final line of this verse. We're going to have 4 lines in each verse. I'm going to do something slightly different in this line. I'm going to have the, adjective, noun, verb, but I'm going to also include an adverb, because we haven't used that pyramid yet from the word bank that we wrote yesterday, so I'm going to use it in this final line. So I'm going to think of my final noun that I'm going to use for this line, what I could see outside in the Valley of the Kings. I think I'm going to go with the tomb. So I'm going to say the, now I want that adjective. How could I describe the tomb? Well, before they were discovered, they were forgotten. I quite like that one. It really builds in that picture in my head that it was deserted, there was nobody there, nobody had gone there before. So I'm going to have my adjective, the forgotten, tomb is my noun, and then I want my verb. What's the tomb doing? Now this is also a great opportunity to get personification in there, so giving something non-human, the tomb, a human quality. So it could be the forgotten tomb is lying, the forgotten tomb is sleeping, the forgotten tomb, I'm going to have waits, because I can't have the forgotten tomb waiting, because I'm going to change that to waits. The forgotten tomb waits, that's my verb, and then I'm going to have my adverb. So how is the forgotten tomb waiting? The forgotten tomb waits silently, I could have that. The forgotten tomb waits nervously, waiting to be discovered. The forgotten tomb waits anxiously. I like that one. It's anxious. It can't wait for somebody to discover what treasures it has inside. The forgotten tomb waits anxiously. And I'm going to put a full stop there because it's the end of my verse. Let's read it through together. In the Valley of the Kings, the quick scorpions scuttle. The archaic cliffs observe, the forgotten tomb waits anxiously. So that is my first verse of my poem. So now that we've written the first verse together, let's break it down and come up with some steps to success together. So each verse is going to start with the line, in the Valley of the Kings. So that's going to repeat throughout your poem. You're going to be writing 4 verses in total. 2 about what you can see outside in the Valley of the Kings, and 2 about what you can see inside Tutankhamun's antechamber. Remember, today you're only writing the first 2 verses about what you can see outside. But by tomorrow you'll have a 4-verse poem. You also need to remember for your steps to success that the second and third line have adjective, noun, verb. Adjective, noun, verb. And then your final step to success that you can see over here is your 4th line has the, adjective, noun, verb, and then your adverb. And that's going to be the same kind of formula that you're going to use throughout all of your other verses.
The last thing I want to share with you before you go off and write your own 2 verses for today are the chili challenges. This is a layered approach today, so everybody's going to start with chili 1, then if you can, move on to chili 2, and then move on to chili 3. So chili 1, I want you to write the first 2 verses of your poem following the steps to success. Chili 2, your challenge today is to identify where you could use alliteration. In my poem, I used scorpion scuttle. It's where the same sound comes together. And then finally, chili 3, your challenge today is to evaluate your poem. Where could you add personification? So in my poem, I said that the cliffs observe. Remember, personification is where you give something that's non-human a human quality. It's your turn now, Year 4. I want you to write the first 2 verses of your poem using these steps to success to help you. Pause the video on this screen while you're writing today, and you can keep referring to the steps of success as you go. I can't wait to see how you get on. Don't forget to send your verses into the Year 4 email address. Miss Murphy will see you tomorrow for your writing video where you'll be doing the final 2 verses of your poem. Bye, Year 4.